Hi guys, and welcome to another episode on Amazonia PPC YouTube channel. And for today's episode, we have a very special guest. It's Haire from Bellawix Agency, and he's gonna talk about how to use PPC together with DSP. And welcome.
Igor, thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here to talk about my favorite topic, all things advertising on Amazon.
Awesome, awesome. Well, for the start, for those people who maybe haven't heard about you or what you do in your agency, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you guys do.
Yeah, definitely. So myself professionally, I'm an advertiser by trade. I've been doing, I started off with Google advertising in the early 2010s, and I moved over to Amazon, and I've been doing that for a little over 10 years at this point. Everything from programmatic streaming TV to pay-per-click, and it's been a fun ride. As an agency, we do full channel management for marketplaces, primarily Amazon and Walmart. So we help brands with their marketing, their advertising, their logistics, and inventory management. And it's a large part of what we do. And today we manage a little over $500 million in sales on the platform. We've worked with enterprise level brands that you've probably heard of, as well as small businesses. So we've been really blessed with the types of brands that we've gotten to work with. I'm excited to share some of our stories and experience with you and your audience today.
Yeah, you've been in the space for so long, and especially since you started with Google. I very often we have also experience in Google. We don't offer those services anymore, but very often I really laughing about some of the functionalities that Amazon is presenting us. Like, hey, this is the tool that you're gonna have right now, and Google had that for free like 10 years ago.
Oh yeah.
On a
Yeah,
much better scale and in many more details, but still, yeah, for Amazon, it's absolutely news, especially with DSP. You know that you can compare it, like, if I remember correctly, to Google Display Network, right?
yeah,
What similar
yeah.
to that,
Very
and
similar. Yeah.
yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you guys leverage both PPC and DSP together to bring more sales to brands?
Beautiful. I would say off the bat, no matter what, I would say for 80% of the brands we work with, we definitely do pay-per-click and we do DSP together. And the concept is it gives us the ability for more enhanced targeting. And we do like a bottom-up approach. So the concept is like whenever we start working, we're going to blanket pay-per-click. We're going to make sure we're getting people in market, searching for your brand, searching for related products, and going after competitors through conquesting. And then an easy layer over that's like going to get you the best return for your programmatic investments, going to be remarketing. So a lot of times what we'll do on our listings, people who viewed and didn't make a purchase, on competitors' listings, or people who are searching in our category but have yet to make a purchase in that category. These are all indicators that these shoppers are towards the bottom of the funnel. And so at the minimum, we want to get them with pay-per-click, get them into our funnel, and then use programmatic as a way to consistently expose these shoppers to our products over time with the goal of soliciting them to make a purchase, ideally within the first 2 to 3 days, but we could do it for as long as 30 days, depending on the buying cycle for the products. The more expensive, the longer it takes, the less expensive, the shorter.
Right. So you quickly covered so many interesting points there. But so far, I've seen that brands are usually stuck with the very first step where what is the point for them to start to think about DSP? I suppose that it's not gonna like they have so many things in PPC to be solved, but they also want to start DSP. Is there some like point that they have to reach in PPC before starting with DSP? I'm just thinking maybe it is, maybe it's not. So what do you what's your thoughts on that?
So it depends your philosophy and how aggressive you want to be. I would say what I find is that businesses who are doing under $1 million a year They may get stuck between like 50 to 60K a month in revenue, and they're finding it hard to get sales consistently. They're going to be a good candidate to run programmatic. And the use case that they're probably experiencing is that their category is getting saturated with more sellers. It's becoming more competitive. Maybe demand is fluctuating, so CPCs are more expensive. And therefore, it's getting difficult to fill the mid and upper funnel with shoppers who are interested or potentially interested. And therefore, you're just competing with everybody else at the bottom of the funnel, and it gets expensive and it's hard to do and it's not going to last forever. So, programmatic advertising gives us the ability to start introducing your products to shoppers mid and upper funnel. And I'm able to introduce your products to them on and off the platform. I could drive to landing pages if it's an expensive product and requires some education. So, like I would say that
You mean like
sales
off
stagnation
Amazon, right? Landing pages
off
off Amazon.
exactly.
Okay,
Yep, exactly.
nice.
And so those would be indicators of like, yeah, you should consider programmatic or another venue to acquire traffic. So we deal with programmatic DSP, but maybe you consider meta ads, maybe you do TikTok, maybe you do search, maybe you buy email lists. Like there's all different ways to get traffic. But from us as advertisers, and when we look at Amazon, PPC is the easiest and is going to give us the best return. And then programmatic's number two, and then streaming TV sits on top of that, and that's going to be number three. And each server purpose up the funnel.
Nice. And I've seen different information, and I got different information from a few people from Amazon and those who are providing seats to DSP about what is the minimum ad spend that they need to spend in order to actually use the DSP. I know in the past it was like, I don't know, 35 grand or for the US. So what information do you have about those limitations, like for somebody starting in DSP in US versus Europe? So what is the minimum spend that they can actually start with in order to use the DSP?
Beautiful. So with DSP, if you work directly with Amazon as a managed service, so Amazon's going to manage your DSP, you're looking at probably $15,000 minimum. They're going to try to push you to spend that in a month. You could probably spend it in 2 months, maybe three if you could get really lucky. But they'll be looking for at least that type of commitment to get started. When you work with an agency like ourselves, there's no minimum. So we could spend $500 if that's all it's take, which is why we're able to have a bottom up approach and be more kind of ROAS driven because there's no minimums for us. We could just
Right.
allocate. And typically, in all transparency, excuse me, about 20% of the budget. So like 80% is typically what we do for pay per click. I would say 15% is going to be your DSP, and then 5% is going to be your streaming TV. And that's like a pretty typical budget allocation. Now, if a brand came to us and said, we want more awareness, we have a product launch, we're willing to spend more on getting eyeballs, then it might be 40%
Right.
on DSP, and we might do like 10 or 15% on streaming TV. So it varies, but in most cases, what we usually see, about 15% is going to be DSP, 5% streaming TV, which is all done through DSP, and the majority of it is going to be done pay per click right on Amazon because it has the best returns.
Nice. And since you mentioned streaming TV, what are your takeaways on that? I know that there's that creatives needs to be done in a certain way, a certain length, like what was it, 30 seconds straight, if I'm
Yeah.
not. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
how what have you seen with working with the brands in your experience using the streaming TV, in terms of what are some of the KPIs that you track when using streaming TV and how that incorporates into the bigger picture?
Yeah. We look for a brand lift over time. In all transparency, streaming TV is top of the funnel. So it takes a long time for it to bake. So a lot of times we take a small portion of the budget and we kind of just run it in the background to get that exposure. And over time, we're measuring brand search inquiries, and we're trying to figure out if we're getting a lift there. Outside of that, detailed page views, video completion, but all the videos,
Mhm.
most of them are not skippable, so they're all technically completed. Yeah, it's a great metric.
Yeah.
Um, but the detailed page views and the impressions are probably the biggest because it's upper funnel. And then from there, we have the QR code on there. So if anybody actually scans or engages, we get that information. And then more importantly, we're able to take that audience and then push them. They become part of our audience. So we push them with remarketing ads. We get them with
Yeah.
display ads. And then ideally we get them on the platform.
Yeah.
But streaming TV is not a ROAS driven feature or platform. You're really going to be want to looking at impressions, detailed page
Yeah.
views, video completion rate.
Maybe I feel like it's maybe a good tool to use. For example, if you're an established brand and you plan a product launch next summer because it's a seasonal product, and you start to, I don't know, early spring, and you start to use streaming TV just to
Yeah,
uh, make people aware of your maybe new product that's coming in,
yeah,
and just like before the product launch or something like that. So just prepare them and like awareness of what's coming.
yeah.
That's what we what one brand asked us to do. Okay, and for somebody just tapping into DSP, what are some of the strategies that you can, in a nutshell, of course,
Yeah.
you can recommend, for example, for starting out? Because I've heard from many sellers that they're just not convinced that DSP is good for them and that they're gonna get a good bang for their buck. Like, what is it that they can start with you or with us or anybody else? Like, hey, I want to start with this type of ads, this strategy, just to see if there's money for us or not. So, what would you recommend for starting out?
Yeah, this is great. I'm going to go back to the bottom up approach. And what I'd say at the minimum to get started, remarketing. The second audience that's going to get you probably the best return is putting a pixel on your website and building affinity audiences, so lookalike audiences based on website data.
Mm-hmm.
The third audience that's pretty effective is storefronts, so your brand and competitor brand storefronts, and targeting shoppers that engage them. The fourth audience,
That's actually a good
conquesting.
point. I haven't thought about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I love DSP. I could talk about it all day. But conquesting's the next thing. Like get competitors and start stocking their top products with your top products. If you have, there's lots of different ways. Like if you have a product at a competitive price point, use that. If you have a product with better reviews, use that. So like there's all different ways of conquesting. And then I would say, those are the bottom. So like those are going to give you the best return. And you want to do them in pieces because they're expensive. You don't want to do them all at once. Typically, for just programmatic, like just DSP, obviously like Amazon owned and operated property is going to cost you more. So you're probably looking at like $7 to $12 a CPM for Amazon owned and operated properties. You're looking at maybe like $3 to $6 for third party
Mm-hmm.
supply networks that you can access through there. And then streaming TV, we see like $30 to $35 per CPM. But if you compare that to like Disney or Hulu or Netflix, they're closer to like $50 a CPM. Linear TV, like your traditional TV, those are over $100 per CPM. So from a CPM perspective, your streaming TV is going to be the most expensive, but it's cheaper compared to the market. Then secondarily, Amazon owned and operated properties will be your second most expensive, but that's going to get you the best returns because it's Amazon data.
Right.
And then last but not least, the third party suppliers, they're going to be the cheapest, but they're a mixed bag. Sometimes you get good audiences and it
Yeah.
actually drives return more often than not. Yeah, I feel like those third-party websites, they can be manipulated. And my humble opinion, without being able to prove it, is that I think more often than not, the validity of the traffic from those third-party suppliers are not very good.
Hmm.
So generally, if I break it out my budgets, Amazon's where I'm putting most of it, as long as I get the return.
Yeah, so those are pretty good points for somebody to be hooked up on DSP and just like now they're gonna love it. You mentioned really interesting little point is that gathering data from a pixel installed on your website, which
Yep.
perfectly aligns with what everybody is saying, and I'm one of those people too, that brand must have a brand, not Amazon brand, but they need to create a brand of Amazon, at least to have a website, at least for because today you can have that like in 5 minutes, either with
Yep.
AI or just buy it like already pre-filled with images and everything. Just pay somebody to change the images and text because why? For example, I as a shopper, when I never heard about a brand, I'm gonna Google it and see if there's actual
Hmm.
brand. Do they have a website? What are the prices on a website? Is it a real brand or a fake brand? Is it Chinese or whatever? So it really boosts confidence in a brand when somebody never heard about it. But still, this is also an interesting point because Google Analytics provides so much data on customer behavior, on audiences, and we can easily assume that from the data that we gather on our website about our customer persona, that same people are buying on Amazon, but just with a higher buying intent. And to your point, also having a website enables you to use the DSP pixel and even more functionalities, as you said, to gather more data on your audience. Uh, awesome. I love
Yeah,
it.
man. Hey, you hit on the head too. I think it's really interesting too. Like if you're looking at like if you're a brand and you're looking at like phases of like my clout of my product, it's like if you're a brick and mortar retail, your clout, people see you there and they're like, oh, they're legit, they're in brick and mortar. Secondarily, it's gonna be like commercials, TV commercials. If somebody sees the commercial, like, oh, they must be good. And then third, it's gonna be your website. You know, they're gonna check it out on the website and it provides that kind of authority. So you definitely nailed it. That's the best thing an Amazon only brand can do is like at the very minimum, just have a website so somebody else can search you. Make sure you're real.
Yeah, and I was recording an episode on YouTube, and I literally done that. So I saw two, I think it was like knife blocks or something like that. But both brands had amazing reviews, like 2,000 reviews, 4.5 stars. But one of them had a website and the other didn't. When you search for Google for a brand name, you get nothing. You get only Amazon results. But when you browse the another one, you get a beautiful website with nice images. Immediately, that's the one I'm
Yeah.
gonna buy from because and it's so cheap to have that leverage for
Yeah.
brands. It's never been cheaper. Uh,
To your point, AI. I mean, it's you could pretty much say, build me a one-page website. You know, if you don't have a lot of products, it does not need to be fancy.
um, back to DSP. On DSP, there's on Amazon targeting and off Amazon targeting. Um, what can you tell us at a very basic level for somebody who don't know much about DSP? Um, what are the differences and where uh, should brands be going like to choose if they're going to use off Amazon or Amazon targeting?
Beautiful. Yeah, great question. So I'd say primarily your Amazon targeting, if it shows up on Amazon, own and operated properties, but mainly it's going to be Amazon. It's going to be the most expensive, but it's going to get you the best results. You know, the data's cleaner. They know they have, 300 million Prime shoppers, so like the data's there that they could test against. It'll be better. The third party suppliers and even Amazon own and operated properties, so like not .com, but there are other properties they own. Um, they're going to be more expensive than the third party because of the purity of that data. But obviously, when this is the best thing for you to do. It's like when you're engaging somebody off of the platform, it will cost a lot more effort and cost you a lot more investment to get somebody to move off of something when they're not in shopping mindset. So like if I'm on a fisherman's website because I like fishing and I'm getting served fishing rods, yeah, like it's relevant and it's contextual. But if I'm just reading, the chances that I'm going to click on that ad and make the purchase is pretty slim.
Mm-hmm.
But I am reinforcing my brand. I'm getting connected to, in the fishing example, like my rods are associated with this magazine, and that magazine could have clout. Therefore, I'm aligning with my brand with something my audience gets value to. And like that's kind of how it
That's
works.
pretty
So
powerful. Yeah.
exactly. So it's a long way of saying like out in the short term on Amazon traffic is going to be the best because like it's closer to the point of purchase. In the long term and kind of how DSP is like designed to work, you kind of you want a good mix and you do want to have that off Amazon presence because you want to capture people contextually when they're researching, when they're participating with whatever's associated with your product. So it may not drive the best results, but it does work better
Yeah.
together, and
Yeah.
that's how it.
That's definitely the best thing because there's so many people out there, and it's a
Yeah,
pretty wide net when you use it like that. Thank you very much. The other things, yeah, for me, on DSP, audiences are the best thing ever. So it can be really creepy.
yeah,
The level of details that you can have over there, like really stagger it, like I don't know, only females, only this age, only
yeah.
mother of 40-year-olds, like
Hmm.
because Amazon knows what you're shopping. So if a brand is very niche oriented, then it can be there's nothing more powerful than that. Like you can
Yeah,
really dial down and just target like I don't know 100,000 people, but really the ones that are with a high buying intent.
yeah.
Um,
And it's not just products anymore. So like Amazon, I can now get like Mastercard data, which could give me insights into like people buying houses, people in market for
right.
cars. Like it's Big Brother at its finest, but like that data's there, you can build audiences off of. So Amazon's trying to be the be all and end all for everything, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of power in that data.
Yeah. Like there is also one called recent movers
Yeah,
audience.
there you go.
So imagine that like you just moved and you have your ads tailored to what you just need in your new house. So
Yeah,
that
an advertiser's dream. Right before you're even moving, you're getting ads for boxes and bubble wrap and all that other stuff.
right. So definitely all what you said paints a picture that it's incredibly useful tool, and I encourage all people listening to really dive into that because there's so many things that they can um, use it for. Lastly, I don't want this to be too long. If somebody needs more, if somebody has more questions about DSP, what is the best option that they contact you?
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, so check me out on LinkedIn, Will Haire, like on your head with an E. I put something out almost every day in terms of video content or articles to help you sell more product on Amazon. And if you have any specific questions, you can just shoot me a message on there. You can also check out our website, bellavix.com, and you can fill out a form and somebody from our team will reach out to you within a day or two.
Nice. Thank you for sharing all this valuable information. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure that a lot of people will make it, will use it and implement very very soon because it's just unbelievable.
Heck yeah. Well, Igor, I appreciate being on the show. Thanks for having me. And this
It
was a lot of fun. Great
was a
catching up with you.
pleasure. It was a pleasure, Will. Bye bye.